Everything's alright? Yeah, hi guys. They put this white clinical light so I don't see you, so I don't see your reactions actually, which is a bit strange. Right, so I'm here to talk to you about fintech for millennials and early adopters. I'm gonna focus on the UI and UX side. I'm gonna spice it up with a bit of AI, and hopefully we're gonna get something game-changing. I'm a heavy consumer of fintech apps. I'm currently building a fintech app. But let's see the next slide. I'm a Google developer expert for product strategy. I focus my consultancy usually on technologies relating to artificial intelligence and blockchain. I've been doing product management for the past 10 years. I've built all sorts of products on different verticals and for different platforms. I love fintech now because it's hyped, of course, because the mass adoption comes from millennials. And as strange as it sounds, millennials are not that unpredictable as we think. They are heavy adopters. They value good habits and human values. So this is why I love building products for millennials, because I love also building products human-centered. These are my handles where you can reach out to me. I have everything there. And I'm here to talk to you about, we're gonna quickly jump through these topics. We're gonna start with some UI UX examples, and I'm gonna touch base on some falsehoods. These are really, really nice. Audience dynamics, best practices. Then we're gonna jump to a touch of innovation, and we're gonna mention reinforcement learning, which works best with finance. Human first design. We're gonna jump to business and marketing positioning, and we're gonna talk a bit about TechFin, and at the end we're gonna see how others got it right, and here you have some examples. But before moving on, I'd like to tell you a quick story. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Gandhi's shoe, but I'm gonna quickly tell you the story. So one day, while Gandhi was climbing the stairs of a train, one of his shoes slipped and got under the train on the track. What do you think that Gandhi did? Option 1. He calmly tried to mask the situation without people knowing or realizing that one of his shoes slipped. That's what option 1. And option 2, he calmly took the second shoe and threw it on the track as well. I'm gonna let you think about the answer, and I'm gonna touch base on the answer at the end once again. Have a think if you'd go for option 1 or if you'd go for option 2, and why. Right, millennials and early adopters. Before moving forward, I like to profile a bit the audience. How are millennials and early adopters? Well, they care for human values. They are distributed and location agnostic. Now, for example, if I want to consume a fintech product, I may be located, for example, in Europe, and I may be consuming a product from the US. So we are location agnostic. We are working in distributed teams and this in software development, and this applies to the consumer of fintech apps. We are keen to use the smartphones. I somehow consider myself a millennial as well. I'm born in '88. I'm a borderline millennial. Usually the researchers are not fully, sure the date range for millennials, but it's somehow from the early 1980s to the early 2000s. So if you're born in that date range, you are a millennial. And here you have a nice example from Capital, which focuses on reaching up goals for saving, and they focus at millennials. Right, falsehoods. Let's jump to this. These are fun. I'm a developer, I can build a fintech product, and I don't need traditional finance help. False. You cannot do that without the help of the finance guys. We are actually building a product that disrupts a very traditional market, a very traditional infrastructure. You need help from people that have done it previously, and you need to understand the challenges, and you need to understand the regulations and what are the must-haves to consider. Because you can innovate, including technology to optimize processes and so on and so forth, but there are some things that you need to consider, like regulations and compliances. Partnering with an old bank or service is my path to success. It's not my path to success as I only speak to millennials and early adopters. Wrong. Well, millennials and early adopters are kind of forced in our context to have an account at a traditional bank. Partnering with a bank institution enlarges your audience. You have a bigger audience to reach out, and you have more channels to reach out on. Financial institutions are my competitors. Well, not quite, because you don't have financial institutions disrupting fintech currently. So they are not our competitors. Copy the design of a popular app and you're done. Not quite. Usually designs are locally adapted. For example, I'm consuming a Brazilian fintech app that I like, and I cannot pass the onboarding screen because it asks me some sort of a numerical code which is specifically to Brazilian markets. So if you copy the design, it might not actually work for you all the time. Financial practitioners know exactly what kind of service people need. False. If you base your assumption that if you bring a guy that does finance and he'll enlighten you with all the things good for fintech, it's not the way to innovate or disrupt. You need to consider his opinion, and you need to have a diverse team, but it's not the only opinion to consider. UX is the only thing needed for instant success. Well, not quite. First, it needs to function. I mean, I can have a nice experience, but if I don't have a license or a FCA approved, it doesn't work out because it doesn't serve my full needs. UX design can be provided by any UX designer. Well, not quite, and I can tell this from experience. I've worked with a couple of UX designers that weren't aware of the finance workings, and it was very difficult to explain them. For example, I was building an order book exchange, and explaining them what the trailing stop feature would mean for buying and selling digital assets was quite complicated. He couldn't understand. Design must be unique and innovative. Yeah, to some extent that may be true, but actually needs to be functional. Cut out the uniqueness, try to serve the need. Okay, build nice UIs, good UXs, but don't try to innovate out there from the first attempt from your MVP. Try to gather user base first. Right, audience and dynamics. The specificity of audience and dynamics, they focus on dematerialization. We don't carry cash anymore, we don't have credit cards anymore, everything is at the top of the button. So it's kinda, we free up space from our mental bandwidth and we can reuse that space. We are more comfortable. Demonetization, you don't carry money with you. Democratization, anyone can access it, location agnostic. That's pretty cool. Some dynamics that you may hear in the news. Digital currency is not going anywhere. You've seen or read about digital assets or digital currency. Some people are concerned about losing its momentum and so on and so forth, where actually digital currency is here to stay. Instant everything. Yes, this is the characteristic of fintech currently. You have to solve this first directly from your MVP. Everything needs to be instant. And here are some interesting facts that I'm gonna push to you. Over the next 5 years, we'll connect the entire population. And we currently have 2 billion people that they don't have securely access to saving money, to transfer and make payments. So that's quite an opportunity. And another random fact, which is quite interesting, Indian M-Pesa are using mobile minutes to make mobile payments and mobile transfers. That's quite innovative because they are leapfrogging a stage. They are not using credit cards any longer, so they already made the leapfrog. Just like, for example, in Romania, we got directly to optical fiber and we have very fast internet. So we leapfrog a generation of technology, which is pretty cool. Best practices, instant everything. Instant everything means it comes with new issues. You may have users that use your app and then they leave, so you are left with dormant accounts. You actually need to triple check always in these situations. You have misdirected payments. It can happen very easily. I can type a wrong address and my money are sent to the wrong address. So you actually need to have checking practices in place. Practical contextual advices. I recommend this especially for millennials because they are educated and they appreciate good habits. For example, advising them that before transferring a large amount, you precautionary recommend sending $1 first is recommended. We do that in our product. Users should feel secure. Yes, we're living in a world where privacy is just a word. So users should feel secure from the first moment. They are millennials, they are educated, they know what privacy means, they know what security means, and in most of the cases, they know the tools that you need to use in order to make them feel secure. So just use them and make them feel secure. Inclusive designs. We are about inclusiveness, so this applies to fintech as well. Encourage good behavior, flag risky behavior. Yes, teach me the good practices and flag me the risky behavior. Educate me. Millennials love education. And we're gonna go quickly to some examples. I love QR codes. I was actually amazed when I got to the train station that you can actually buy train tickets by scanning a QR code. So it's actually cool, guys. The market that is light years ahead on payments and transaction is the Chinese market. In China, WeChat Pay has more than 1 billion monthly active users. 1 billion, that's quite an audience. Alipay has 520 million plus active users. That's quite a lot if you think about it. And they do everything through a QR code. You can see how easy the interface looks. It's color-coded and QR-coded. Nothing else, nothing less. And another random fact is that 55% of China's internet users have made at least one mobile payment. In comparison with only 19% of internet users from the United States. So if you're looking to bring good habits and not reinventing the wheel, I recommend you to look at the Chinese payment apps. They got it right, they have a huge audience. There are important local aspects that of course work better there and less so here, but have a look, test their apps, go to Asia, see them in practice, and you'll be amazed. Here is my QR code. You can scan it, you can add me on WeChat. So QR codes can be reused. The same QR code can be reused for multiple purposes. The same QR code can be reused to send money, to ask, to request money, to connect on social networks, to pay at merchant accounts, so it has versatility. That's nice. Now let's see some best practices on your mobile screens that would be fit to a fintech app built for millennials. So you remember the practice of checking, and triple checking. So in Asia, for example, compared to Europe and the States where you log in with a username and password, they don't do that. They log in with an email and phone number. So it's completely different. They don't use the password thing. By asking for his phone number, which is the core action to logging in, they need to triple check that you inputted the right phone number. So then they put a model and ask you again, are you sure that was your phone number? I recommend triple checking all the time. It's heavily important, not only at login, but also in stages within your app. Flagging risky behavior. As you recall from earlier, millennials appreciate the time you spend to educate them. Flagging risky behavior is part of the user experience they appreciate, and they will return to you and be hooked as customers. So, for example, here we have an example of a dormant account. The user was active and then he went on a holiday, for example. He hasn't used the app for 2 weeks, and we put a lock on his app just because to make sure if hacking happens, it has that lock and it cannot brute force it, and everything is safe. When the user tries to log in with his credential, we inform him that we put a lock for safety, and he can anytime remove that lock and have instant access. The user would appreciate, we safeguard his life, his finance, and we also care and do this proactively without actually asking extra info from him. Contextually help and explain yourself. Well, this is my favorite example because it's done busy, but even so, it's not implemented. Well, most of the people implement the placeholder with enter birth date, but the problem we have with fintech is that you have to run compliances and regulations, and you have to run know your customers procedures, KYC. Well, that actually puts you with a lot of cases where you have fake birthdays and you don't have the actual birth date. So in order to reduce the time the support spends on approving the KYC, you have to ensure that the info the user inputs is the actual input. So try to mention that, try to explain, contextually explain yourself in placeholders. Okay, more. I love this. Build cluster-oriented products. Well, don't try to reach all the audiences right away from your MVP or further on. Try to build cluster-oriented. Pick up your audience and build for that audience. Don't try to build a very versatile product from your first attempt. We are talking about millennials and early adopters here. It's a very, very cluster-oriented. And the first screen, it's an onboarding screen from a very nice app I like. It's a Brazilian app, only close to the Brazilian market, and it's for millennials. They use all sorts of emoticons or imageries that are very specific and adopted by millennials and appreciated. So they are building an app for millennials. Make users feel secure. Tech should not be boring. Of course, tech should not be boring. Don't try to build complicated solutions. We have the reCAPTCHA, we have the image CAPTCHA, we have all sorts of things for adding extra security at login or confirming a transaction. Well, actually, that shouldn't be boring. Don't make people choose a tree or something else. I sometimes click on the wrong image, I have to restart the process, it drives me nuts. Well, pick a gamification type of reCAPTCHA. You have a puzzle, you have to drag the puzzle in that box, and then it shows you the percentage of how fast you did that and the percentage of people that done it faster than you or something like that. It engages me, it hooks me, and it's from the beginning. I like that. Connect design elements to educate. This is actually from the product I'm currently building. It's an order book exchange, and one of the feature, which is quite complex, is a trailing stop. This feature means that in order for the user to use this feature, he needs to input a unit on top of the price of the digital asset, and that unit will mean the amount used when the order actually activates. So if the amount of the Bitcoin is $9,000, if I put unit 0.01, that means it will the order it will be active at 9,000.001. So it's actually quite numerical. This is the thing with digital assets, they have so many numbers, but it's harder to explain with small digits. So we decided that we want to educate the user, not in the sense that, hey, you are not at all educated, in a more gentle way. So we added a percentage bar because the number is so small and you don't realize it. We added a percentage so you can realize how much from the total amount is actually that unit. It helps users understand better top-level context, and it helps them use the feature better. No one has this on the market. It's mostly used and appreciated by users. Right. A touch of innovation. I'm going to slowly move to innovation. It's one of the sides I'm passionate about. I don't currently speak about building products any longer. This is an exception. I mostly speak about AI technologies, which is my specialty. I'm also co-founder of a community that does AI, advises startups and companies reshape and retransfer the technology stack. AI is my specialty. Right, innovation. What can we use from the big pile of new technologies, emerging technologies that works with fintech? Of course, you heard about machine learning. It works. I particularly like a certain bit of the machine learning, which is called reinforcement learning. It works very well, for example, for investment portfolios, for picking the right timing and picking the right date for your order to be executed. But you have also machine learning that can be used more for B2C oriented. It can use for forecast, habits, spending habits, behavior, and also very, very important for fraudulent transactions. It works. We have models out there that you can reuse and build on top of them. I heavily recommend them for these particular use cases. And here's a nice quote from a very famous venture capitalist. He was previous Microsoft and ex-Googler exec. He says, he doesn't trade with humans anymore. This should actually make you think. You are building a product for a market, for the early adopters that are not trading with humans anymore. What technology can you use with finance? Of course, you have the conversational chatbots. They work. Especially the natural language processing side of it works, not just the programmed if this and that or inputted text. And especially it works for peer-to-peer payments. If you want to send money to someone, you should use a conversational chatbot with natural language processing. It's faster, it's a better experience, you can integrate it with all familiar tools, and here you have an example of someone wanting to transfer $5 to his colleague on Slack because they drank a coffee in the morning. So it can be integrated easily with the most used apps, and it's very fast and familiar. It's for millennials. Robo-advisor. Well, you heard Kai-Fu Lee saying that he doesn't trade with robots anymore. That's pretty cool. This is where robo-advisors come in. They have lower commission rates, so that's amazing, but they have better accuracy on previously lost streams and predicting the ones that you can get the best revenue out of them. So it's quite convenient. And one of the things that I particularly like from AI is also the neural networks. They are amazing, they are harder to build, but they are amazing in what they can do. Because for example, they are mostly used for microloans. If you use neural networks, you can actually reduce the timing till you actually approve a microloan to a bare minimum of 8 seconds now. How it's done is like the user installs your app, it gives you access to your personal information and the phone information. The neural network collects the information and does a profiling and a credit score and a microloan score, and then it's able to approve a certain amount in 8 seconds. That's quite an innovation. Blockchain. I love blockchain, but unfortunately there are not many practical use cases in production. There are very many white papers and many experts around. But what you can do with blockchain for finance is actually the use of smart contracts for identifying lenders for peer-to-peer lending, and you can use the immutable ledger again for credit transparency and default history. It's actually quite powerful, but unfortunately currently these are the only use cases for blockchain. And another thing which is very important for user experience is the seamless transactions, the remittance. Because now we are not dealing with cash, we are not dealing with credit cards, we are just dealing with the phone. You can, for example, climb in your Uber and you are not aware if you have money left or not. So sometimes we can be in the situation where you don't have money to pay and you have to transfer money from another account. You only do this from your phones. You only do phones. That comes with seamless transfers. It's quite important. So the specificity of everything is that you have to focus on 3 A's: anyone, anywhere, anytime. So building a fintech app actually needs to serve these 3 characteristics. Right. Well, building a product actually needs to focus firstly on building something meaningful. You have to solve a problem, you have to serve some needs, and you have to do it contextually in the timing we are living. Here are some nice examples that I appreciate for building something meaningful. They have if this then that integration, which is very modern and to our days, because I personally use if this then that. I think I'm a millennial, but anyway. You have an example of a chatbot where you talk to him to send you money, to transfer money. And one of the most core functionality is request and pay. So you actually have to be careful that the core functionalities are being end-to-end functional and usable. So you don't build a product just for the UI and UX, you build it to be meaningful and functional. Okay, the UI and UX is nice, but you are here to serve your users and you are here to help them out. And millennials are really appreciative and aware of this. Right. Nice. So now we're moving to the business side and the marketing positioning. Initially, when we are talking about fintechs, we initially talked about infrastructure. That was like 2 years ago. We then moved on to Fintech 2.0. We talked about banks. We were so worried and we talked a lot about banks. Currently, we are at Fintech 3.0 and we talk about startups. There's a plethora of startups that are on the market, are doing an amazing job. I, for one, am a heavy consumer of fintech. I have at least 10 fintech apps installed and currently actively using at least 3 or 4 of them. So we are in the startup zone. But what I like the most and what will be the future is TechFin, which is a fintech for zero, and it deals about the user experience. So the user are educated, and you have to ramp up your game, and you have to provide seamless and beautiful user experiences, just like any other software product. There are some specificity. Fintech is just like SMAC, which is like social, mobile, analytics, and cloud. You have to include all these 4 in your fintech app. It needs to be social, it needs to be mobile first, it needs to be analytical, you have to provide reports to your user, you have to educate, and of course it's in the cloud, like any other app. And it emulates, it's complementary to the scale, scope, and demands of your audience, which is the millennials in our case. And I'm gonna quickly jump now to some examples of how others got it right in production, and they already have active users and received investments and are growing quite fast. Nutmeg. Nutmeg is the classical example of a TechFin product. So they try to manage the expectations with good copy. They communicate the expectations because, for example, a fintech product incorporates traditional processes. So you still have bank transfers. They still take like from 5 working days onwards. So you actually have to communicate this clearly to your customers. You explain yourself and you take the burden out of the user's shoulders. They do this quite well. They are very proactive with regulations, and they are the mirror of a TechFin product currently on the market. I think they are UK based. The millennial fintech product. So this is the Brazilian app I was telling you about. It's built by RGA, which is a creative agency, has recently received 2 awards this summer for the best UI and the best UX, which is amazing. It's the most awarded fintech product. Even so, not many people know about it. It's entirely new mobile friendly. It incorporates advanced core technology, but they don't market it like it's AI powered. I think this is the wrong approach, because you are using technology to enable something or to solve a need. You are not using technology just to sell that technology. You are selling the fix of an issue. And empowers seamlessly and integrates into users' life. How do you do that? Well, they personalize the user interface based on your habits. So the UI actually looks different from person to person based on their spending habits and behaviors, which is amazing. Anyway, for me. The versatile fintech product. I love this product. I have a kid at home, so this product is perfect for me. I can empower my kid, I can give him money, he can have his own card with his own name on it before being 18. So if you have for example, if you are 6 years old, you can educate yourself, you can be aware of your spending habits, you can be self-empowered because you have your own money. Of course, the parents are sending the money. He doesn't do anything else. He's not able to open his own account. The KYC is done on the parents. But having the power of having your parents trust you on this side, when we all know that you actually have to be 18 or so in order for you to have a bank account or credit card, it's amazing. So it opens up a whole new world. I'm actually gonna do this for my kids. So right, the democratized fintech product. So it's a product that wants to address to anyone making an information that it's really transforming jargon to day-to-day language to learn, to teach you trading stock. They do this fast. They say that simple, so they are kind of using a millennial jargon, that simple. And they believe that the entire financial system should work for every one of us. They always promote that if you want to learn something, you learn by doing it. So they encourage and they teach you, they educate you, they have a nice user interface, they receive huge investment, and I think they are also based in the UK. UK seems it's a very large market for fintechs. Right. Before ending, I'm gonna run a quick exercise with you if you're not too bored or something, or if you still have energy. I had 2 coffees, so you can explain why I took that much. Right. Say you're building a fintech product. Say you're building a product that buys and sells digital assets online, and it's mobile first, and you're building for your audience, which is millennials. You have to somehow incorporate in your product notifications, because notifications are an important part of your product. How do you do it? And I'm gonna give you 3 options. Have a think, and then we're gonna see the results. Actually, I'm gonna ask you and someone will tell me. So, option 1, source anchored notifications. If you are using WhatsApp, that means you are consuming source anchored notifications. Are the notifications that are put on each conversation, and they are sourced, they are anchored to your source. Other apps are using it as well. There are individuals for each source. Option 2, notification center. If you're using Medium, you have seen their notification center. That's a notification center where everything collects there together. And option 3, mixed model, having primary anchors and having a notification center. The company that does this is Facebook through their app. You have the notification center there on the right, bottom right, but you also have the merchant notifications on the platform you sell goods. So that's anchor notification. Now, think about it a bit. What's the type of notification that you'd use in your product? And we have source anchored notification, just like WhatsApp, notification center, just like Medium, and mixed model, just like Facebook. You're building a fintech product focused on millennials that's gonna buy and sell digital assets. Which of the notifications types you'll use and why? Do you have some answers? I've run this exercise in the morning on 2 persons already. The last one, why?
I think the last one,
Okay.
I guess, because it's very common. Millennials use Facebook, so it's
Okay.
pretty natural.
Okay.
So maybe the behavioral attitude would be best.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Come on, don't be shy. Please. Just a second so everyone can hear you.
I would use anchored notifications
Okay.
because the mobile notification center sort of solves the problem of having them in one place.
Okay.
And in mobile app, I think it will be important to have notifications that are related to what they are about.
Categories. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? You raise your hand. If hopefully you have a different one.
Yeah, I would choose the third option too, because in fintech product it should be important to show exactly what notifications are related to different categories.
Mm-hmm.
And when using notification center, when there are many notifications, I may miss something.
Okay.
I would avoid the situation that user may miss some notifications because there are a lot of them when
Okay.
they return to app like
So
after,
you're worried
after
about
we-
relevance because it's not might be relevant because you have everything all together in the same place. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Well, do we have any UX designers that are working on fintech currently? No. Okay. So the people I talked on the hallways, they were UX designers. Well, in our testing and examples, the winning solution was actually notification center. Because even though we perceive millennials as fast consumers and avid consumers on notifications, and that the fact that they want it sourced is actually not what they expect. At least in our case, building that buy-sell digital assets. They were expecting empowerment, they were expecting to have control and not be buzzed all the time with the notifications, and they were expecting to have their own control and to go to their notification tab and watch the notifications at their own pace. They weren't expecting the spammy look, having notification anchored everywhere, because buying and selling digital assets means you have like tens of notifications in half an hour. So that's quite a lot. So that means you are actually bombarded with notifications. If you anchor them, you're gonna see everywhere only notification bubbles, which is kind of spammy. It looks like a bit shady. And also some of the notification you can control from your settings, but they would like them to have in the notification center because it's also familiar to Medium and it's also what they chose. We recently ran this research and study, so they chosen this, and this is what we've implemented in the app. We initially wanted to go with a mixed model as well, with source the notifications plus the notification center, because we thought that having a trade notification linked to the trade category is actually crucial, but they didn't want that, so we did how they wanted. Now, before I'm gonna end and quickly, back to my Gandhi's shoe story. We had option 1. He tried to mask the fact that his shoe slipped. And option 2, he picked his second shoe and threw it in the back of the train on the track. Which options do you think he picked and why? I'm very interested on the why. And this will be the last things, I promise. Come on. No one knows the Gandhi's shoes? Come on, someone, at least one person. Why?
Why would he wear only one shoe? It's not comfortable.
So the answer is good, that's the answer, but why?
Because he doesn't need that anymore.
Okay, that's good. Well, the answer is connected to the reason why we're all here today, joining Mobiconf and in the same room. The answer why the organizer have put the effort to organize this event, and why they do it each year. What would the answer be? What would the motive be? No. Yeah, money, we all enjoy money, but money should be just an enabler. Actually, okay, it's about building meaningful products. It's about building meaningful features. It's about staying active and actually having a functional product or feature. It's about the fact, think of the comparison, that the track of the train are your users, the shoes is the app you are building for them, and if you offer them only half of the pair, only one shoe, and not offer an end-to-end functional feature, they wouldn't be able to use that. They're gonna use it half the way, and then they're gonna walk away. So you actually have to send them the second pair of the shoe, so they have a functional pair of shoes, and someone that finds the shoes would be able to actually use it. This applies to products as well. You have to build fully functional and meaningful end-to-end features and products. And with this, I'm gonna end my talk. Sorry for bothering you and asking you questions. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah. Anyway.